Introduction. Welcome back, friends. Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about books on money in recent years, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Now, don't be fooled by the title. This isn't a book filled with charts, equations, or complicated investment strategies. In fact, it's almost the opposite. It's about the strange, unpredictable, deeply human way we all think and behave when it comes to money. Morgan Housel, the author, has a simple but powerful message. Being good with money isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about how you behave. Your patience, your decisions, your ability to control emotions, these matter far more than your knowledge of interest rates or stock market trends. And here's the surprising part. Two people with the exact same education and the same amount of money can end up with completely different financial outcomes. Why? Because their choices are shaped by psychology, shaped by their experiences, their fears, their hopes, and even their luck. This book tells stories. Real, relatable stories that help us understand why people save, spend, win, or lose money the way they do. Some of the lessons will feel comforting, like a gentle reminder to be patient. Others will hit like a wake-up call, forcing us to question what enough really means in our lives. In this talk, we'll journey through the book's most powerful lessons. We'll see why no one is truly crazy with money, how luck and risk shape our stories, why compounding is such a quiet miracle, and why the greatest reward of money is not wealth itself but the freedom it gives. By the end, you'll see money in a completely new light. Not as numbers on a page, but as a mirror of human nature. The core principle. At the heart of the psychology of money lies one simple but game-changing idea: financial success isn't about how smart you are. It's about how you behave. Think about it. We often imagine that people who become rich must be financial geniuses, that they've mastered economics, cracked the stock market, or know some secret formula. But the truth is very different. The smartest people in the world can make terrible money decisions. And some very ordinary people, with average jobs and little formal training, quietly build enormous wealth. Why does this happen? Because money isn't a science. It's not like physics or maths, where rules are consistent and outcomes can be predicted. Money is a story of human behavior. It's about patience, discipline, greed, fear, confidence, and hope. It's about how we react when markets fall, when everyone else is getting rich, or when we face temptation. What really makes the difference isn't knowledge, but behavior. Knowledge can be taught. Behavior has to be lived. You can learn compound interest from a textbook, but can you sit still when the market falls 40%? You can memorize diversification, but can you resist the pull of the latest trend when everyone else is celebrating it? Think of it this way: each person sees money through a different lens. That lens is shaped by their background, their experiences, and even the time in history they were born into. Someone who lived through a financial crisis will behave differently from someone who grew up during a boom. To one, debt feels like danger. To the other, it feels like opportunity. What really matters is not perfect knowledge, but the right temperament. Success with money doesn't belong to the cleverest, it belongs to the consistent. The habits you build, the patience you hold on to, and the emotional control you manage will always matter more than any chart or prediction. This is the foundation of the entire book. And from here, Morgan Housel takes us into stories and lessons that show how this principle plays out in real life. The journey starts with a simple but powerful idea: no one's crazy. Big idea 1: no one's crazy. One of the first lessons Morgan Housel gives us is this: no one's crazy when it comes to money. That might sound strange at first, because let's be honest, when we see someone making financial decisions that look reckless, our first thought is often, are they out of their mind? Maybe it's the friend who buys lottery tickets every week. Or the person who invests all their savings into a risky stock. Or the neighbor who insists on keeping all their money in cash, hidden in the house. But here's the thing. What looks crazy to you might feel perfectly reasonable to them, since their choices come from their own experiences, not yours. Imagine two people. One grew up during the Great Depression. They saw banks collapse, jobs disappear, and families lose everything. For them, money feels fragile. They might cling to cash, even when interest rates are terrible, because safety matters more than return. Now imagine another person who grew up during a long stretch of prosperity, say the 1980s and 90s, when markets boomed and jobs were plentiful. For them, investing feels natural. Risk-taking feels rewarding. They may be comfortable borrowing money or putting it into stocks, because in their world, risk usually paid off. Same financial world, but two completely different realities. Neither is crazy. They're simply responding to the hand life dealt them. This is one of the most powerful insights in the book. We judge others' money decisions as if we all play the same game. But we don't. Each of us has a money story, shaped by our background, our culture, and the timing of when we were born. Recognizing this truth transforms your perspective in two key ways. The first is empathy. You stop laughing at or criticizing other people's financial choices because you see that they're acting out of their own truth. The second is humility. You begin to realize that your own views on money are not shared by everyone. They're shaped by your unique path, just as other people's views are shaped by theirs. So the next time someone's financial decision looks absurd, remember, to them, it's not crazy. It's perfectly rational, based on the world they know. Big idea 2, luck and risk. The next big lesson is about luck and risk. Two forces that quietly shape every financial story, more than we often admit. Morgan Housel gives us a humbling reminder. Success isn't only skill, and failure isn't only mistakes. Chance is always in the mix. Take the story of Bill Gates. He's one of the richest men in the world, and certainly brilliant. But here's a lesser-known fact. As a teenager in the 1970s, Gates attended one of the only high schools in America that had a computer. Think about that. Out of millions of students, he just happened to be in the tiny fraction with access to a machine that would soon change the world. Was Gates smart? Absolutely. But he was also lucky. If he'd gone to almost any other school, the story of Microsoft might never have happened. Now, look at the flip side. Paul Allen, Gates's partner, co-founded Microsoft but later faced serious health problems. Despite brilliance and wealth, bad luck struck him in ways no one could control. Risk, much like luck, is always part of the picture. Sometimes it gives us a boost, and sometimes it gets in the way. The point is not to dismiss hard work or talent. They matter a lot. But luck and risk matter just as much, and often more than we like to admit. When we only celebrate winners, we risk telling ourselves the wrong story. And when we only blame losers, we ignore the invisible hand of circumstance. So how do we use this lesson? By practicing humility. Don't assume your success is entirely your doing. Be grateful for the luck that played a role. And don't assume someone else's failure is entirely their fault. Recognize the risks and bad breaks that might have shaped their path. Life is not fair, and money is not fair. The game is tilted by luck and risk. The best we can do is respect these forces, prepare for uncertainty, and never be so sure of ourselves that we forget how fragile success can be. Big Idea 3: Never enough. One of the most powerful lessons in the psychology of money is called never enough. It's about greed, envy, and the danger of chasing more without ever asking, how much is enough? Morgan Housel opens with a story about Rajat Gupta. Gupta was a respected businessman, a man who rose from poverty in India to become the head of McKinsey & Company, one of the most powerful consulting firms in the world. By any standard, he had made it. He was wealthy, successful, admired. But that wasn't enough. Gupta got involved in insider trading, secretly passing along information to gain even more money. Eventually, he was caught and sent to prison. Why risk it all when he already had more than he could ever need? The answer is simple: he didn't know where enough was. The book also recalls Bernie Madoff, who ran the largest Ponzi scheme in history. At one point, Madoff's clients trusted him with tens of billions of dollars. He was already enormously rich, respected on Wall Street. But still, it wasn't enough. He kept pushing, kept cheating, until the entire thing collapsed, destroying countless lives, including his own. Here's the lesson. Some of the most disastrous money stories don't come from people who had nothing. They come from people who had a lot, but still wanted more. They put their reputation, their freedom, and even their families on the line, chasing gains that never truly changed their lives. It makes you ask a vital question. What is enough for me? If you don't define your enough, you'll forever be chasing shadows. Someone will always have more money, a bigger house, a newer car. If comparison drives your financial decisions, you'll never feel satisfied. The truth is, having the strength to stop and say, "This is enough," is a superpower. It brings peace, balance, and stability. And in the end, wealth is not about piling up more and more. It's about recognizing when to stop, because sometimes, enough truly is enough. Big Idea 4: Compounding Power. If there's one lesson in the psychology of money that feels almost magical, it is the extraordinary power of compounding. We hear the term compound interest all the time, Yet most of us never stop to appreciate just how powerful it really is. Compounding is the quiet force that takes small, repeated actions and, over time, turns them into results that feel life-changing. Morgan Housel illustrates this through the story of Warren Buffett. Buffett is one of the richest people alive, worth well over $100 billion. What surprises most people is that the vast majority of that fortune appeared only after he turned 65. If he had delayed investing until he was 30, instead of beginning as a teenager, his wealth would be only a fraction of what it is today. The secret behind his success isn't just skill. It's consistency. Buffett has been investing steadily for more than 75 years. His real genius is patience. Compounding had decades to work in his favor, and over time that steady growth turned into astonishing wealth. And this principle extends far beyond money. Small daily choices accumulate in every part of life. A little effort in saving grows into financial security. A little effort in learning grows into wisdom. The real magic does not come from brilliance but from endurance. The difficulty is that compounding feels slow at first. 4 years, the results can be almost invisible, and that's when many people lose patience. They walk away, convinced it isn't working. But compounding is a force that reveals itself only with time. If you stay with it, what once felt like a trickle builds into a surge, and eventually it feels unstoppable. As Morgan Housel reminds us, compounding does not reward days or weeks, it rewards decades. The lesson is simple but profound. You don't need extraordinary skill, secret knowledge, or risky bets to build wealth. What you need is patience, consistency, and time. Compounding shows us that small, steady progress, almost invisible in the moment, can lead to outcomes that feel impossible when you look back years later. And that truth is not limited to money, it is a law of life itself. Big Idea 5: Getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. There's a difference between getting wealthy and staying wealthy. And believe it or not, the skills required for each are almost opposites. Morgan Housel explains it like this: getting wealthy often requires taking risks, being optimistic, and seizing opportunities. It's about boldness, about making moves when others hesitate. That's how fortunes are built. But staying wealthy? That's a different game. That requires humility, caution, and above all, survival. Think of it this way. If you want to climb a mountain, you need courage to make the ascent. But reaching the top is only half the journey. The real challenge is making it back down safely. That's what staying wealthy really means, keeping what you've built safe so you can enjoy it. Plenty of people have gotten rich only to lose it all. Sometimes it's greed, sometimes arrogance, sometimes simply failing to prepare for the unexpected. History is full of investors who took one bet too many, who assumed the good times would last forever, and ended up with nothing. Housel puts it simply: you only need to get rich once. The goal is not to hit the jackpot again and again. The goal is to avoid ruin, to play the game long enough that compounding and time can do their work. So how do you stay wealthy? The key is adopting a survival mindset. That means always leaving yourself a margin of safety, keeping enough cash for emergencies, choosing investments that are reasonable rather than reckless, and holding expectations that are modest rather than extreme. It also means recognizing that markets fall as well as rise, and preparing yourself emotionally so that when the downturns come, you can stay calm and ride them out with patience. It also means resisting the temptation to risk what you already have for what you don't need. Because no matter how much you win, one bad decision can undo decades of good ones. The real key to wealth isn't brilliance or bold risk-taking. It is endurance, the ability to stay in the game long enough for compounding to work in your favor. Strategy can get you rich, but only survival keeps you rich. And survival, in the end, is the most underrated skill in all of finance. Big Idea 6: Freedom. When most people think about money, the first images that come to mind are the things it can buy: a house, a car, perhaps a holiday in the sun or a wardrobe of fine clothes. But Morgan Housel reminds us that the greatest reward money can bring isn't any of these possessions. The greatest reward is freedom. Freedom is the ability to control your own time. It's waking up in the morning and, within reason, deciding how you want to spend your day. It's the comfort of knowing that your choices aren't dictated by the pressure of the next paycheck. Consider the contrast. A high-paying job might look glamorous from the outside, but if it comes with long hours you despise, relentless stress, and no time left for family or health, is that really wealth? Meanwhile, someone with a modest income but full control over their schedule may feel genuinely rich, because their time belongs to them. What people often seek when they chase money isn't simply status or possessions. Beneath it all, what they're longing for is autonomy, the ability to choose how to live, to decide what to do, when to do it, and with whom to share it. And the good news is that freedom doesn't require millions. Even small amounts of savings can provide flexibility. They create the option to step back, to change direction, or to decline things that don't align with your values. That flexibility is worth more than any luxury item. This kind of freedom also brings a deeper sense of happiness. Research consistently shows that people place greater value on time than on possessions. A car might turn heads for a moment, but being able to attend your child's school play, to rest when you're exhausted, or to spend a quiet afternoon with friends, those moments are what truly matter. In the end, money's greatest return is the freedom it can give you. It isn't about looking rich. It's about living rich. And the richest life is the one where you own your time. Big Idea 7: The man in the car paradox. There's a paradox that can change the way you think about spending, and it's called the man in the car paradox. Imagine this. You're driving down the street and notice someone in a brand new, expensive car. Maybe it's a sleek sports car or a luxury SUV. What's your first thought? Most people don't think, "Wow, that driver must be impressive." Instead, the thought is usually, "If I had that car, people would think I'm impressive." And that's the paradox. We buy expensive things hoping people will admire us. But in reality, people don't admire the person. They admire the car. They imagine themselves in it. The admiration doesn't transfer. Spending money to buy respect almost never works the way we expect. The driver fades into the background while the object steals the spotlight. This idea is liberating once it sinks in. It shows that chasing status through possessions is a losing game. No matter what you buy, people aren't thinking about you as much as you think. They're thinking about themselves. That doesn't mean you should never buy nice things. If a car, a watch, or a house genuinely adds joy or comfort to your life, then it has real value. But if the reason is recognition, disappointment is almost guaranteed. In the end, wealth is not about status symbols. The admiration you imagine is rarely about you at all. Real respect comes not from what you own, but from how you live, how you treat people, and who you truly are. Big Idea 8: Saving money. We often picture wealth in visible terms: the house with more rooms than you need, the car that turns heads, or the wardrobe filled with designer labels. But real wealth isn't about what can be seen. Real wealth is what remains unseen. It's the car you choose not to buy, the watch you decide not to wear, the holiday you pass up even when you could afford it. Those quiet decisions form the true foundation of wealth. Because wealth isn't measured by what leaves your account. It's measured by what stays. Saving money is more powerful than most people realize. Yes, savings can grow into future wealth, but they also do something just as important. They create flexibility. A cushion of savings gives you the freedom to choose from strength instead of desperation. It gives you the ability to walk away from a job you hate, to take a chance on something new, or simply to sleep peacefully at night knowing you are secure. And here's the encouraging part. Saving doesn't require a massive income. It requires the right mindset. Plenty of high earners live from paycheck to paycheck because they constantly upgrade their lifestyle. Meanwhile, many people with modest incomes quietly build lasting wealth by saving steadily and avoiding unnecessary spending. The act of saving is underrated because it isn't glamorous. No one notices what you didn't buy. There's no applause for the holiday you skipped. No social media praise for the money quietly tucked away each month. But over time, that invisible discipline becomes a superpower. In fact, frugality is often more reliable than brilliance. You don't need to pick the perfect stock if you live within your means. You don't need to time the market if you're consistently putting money aside. Wealth, then, is not about looking rich. It's about building resilience. Even small amounts, saved with consistency, create independence. The car in the driveway might impress for a moment, but the money resting quietly in the bank, the money no one else can see, is what truly builds a secure and free life. Big Idea 9: You and Me. One of the final lessons in the psychology of money is called You and Me. It's about understanding that money decisions are never universal. They're always personal. What works for one person may be completely wrong for another. Every investor, every saver, every spender is playing a slightly different game. Some people invest for the next 5 years, others for the next 50. Some want stability, others want growth. Some are willing to take big risks, while others can't sleep at night if their savings move even a little. The mistake we often make is assuming that what's right for someone else must also be right for us. We copy strategies, follow trends, or take advice without stopping to ask, is this person even playing the same game as me? Take day traders, for example. They might make wild, risky moves because they're chasing quick profits. For them, the game is short-term excitement. But if you're saving for retirement, your game is entirely different, and copying them could be disastrous. That's why your financial path doesn't need to look like anyone else's. In fact, it shouldn't. Your goals, your timeline, and your appetite for risk are unique. The strategy that matters is the one that keeps you steady and helps you sleep at night, not the one that looks impressive for someone else. This lesson also teaches empathy. Instead of criticizing how others handle money, remember that they may be playing a completely different game. They might be solving problems you don't have, or preparing for futures you can't yet see. Financial success has no one-size-fits-all recipe. Each person must find their own. What matters most is aligning your choices with your life, your values, and your future. Money is deeply personal, and recognizing that truth is one of the wisest choices you can make. Broader themes and takeaways. After all the stories and lessons, certain themes rise to the surface. They're not just financial tips, but guiding principles for how to live with money and with life itself. The first is humility. Money is unpredictable. Markets soar and then collapse. Economies thrive and then stumble. Luck and risk play a far bigger role than we often admit. The humble investor doesn't try to outsmart the future. Instead, they focus on survival and endurance. Humility is what keeps us preparing for surprises, expecting setbacks, and never assuming we're bigger than the system we live in. The second is patience. Almost everything worthwhile in finance rewards time. Compounding, steady saving, quiet consistency, none of these reveal their power quickly. They only show themselves over years, sometimes decades. The longer you can hold on, the more likely you are to succeed. Wealth is never a sprint. It's always a marathon. The third is balance. Extremes can be dangerous. Too much risk can wipe you out, but too much caution can keep you stuck in place. The art lies in knowing when to be bold, when to be careful, and when to simply step aside. Balance also means defining what enough looks like, and being content with it, instead of chasing shadows that never end. The fourth is independence. Real wealth has little to do with cars or status. It is the freedom to live life on your own terms. It is the ability to say, I choose how to spend my time, and with whom. Without independence, wealth is just a number on a page. With it, even modest means can feel abundant. And finally, perspective. Everyone is playing a different financial game. Judging others misses the point. Copying others can even be dangerous. The right choices are not the ones that impress your neighbor. They're the ones that fit your goals, your values, your circumstances. Put together, these themes form more than a financial philosophy. They form a way of thinking, that money is less about what you know, and more about how you think. It's about mindset. It's about patience, humility, balance, and self-awareness. If nothing else stays with you, let it be this: wealth is not about chasing the highest returns. It's about avoiding the biggest mistakes. It's about lasting long enough for compounding to work its quiet magic. And above all, it's about deciding for yourself what a good life looks like and then having the freedom to live it. Practical applications. So, how do these lessons play out in real life? They come down to practical principles that can guide anyone, regardless of income, background, or goals. The first principle is simple: spend less than you earn. Wealth isn't about how much you earn, but how much you keep. Even a modest income, combined with disciplined saving, can grow into significant wealth over time. The reverse is also true: a huge income means little if every dollar is spent. The second principle is to recognize the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is about having a high income today. Being wealthy is about freedom and flexibility tomorrow. A doctor earning $500,000 a year but drowning in debt and stress may be rich, but not truly wealthy. Meanwhile, a school teacher with steady savings and control over their time may be living in real wealth. Third, embrace compounding by starting early and staying consistent. The biggest gains come not from brilliance, but from patience. Even small amounts saved and invested can snowball into something extraordinary if given enough time. Fourth, know your own game. Don't blindly copy what others are doing. Their financial goals may not be yours. Your strategy should fit your timeline, your tolerance for risk, and your definition of enough. That means sometimes ignoring the noise, the hot stocks, the flashy trends, the financial bragging of others, and focusing on your path. Fifth, respect luck and risk. Don't assume your wins are all you're doing, or that someone else's losses are all their fault. Stay humble when things go well, and compassionate when they don't. This mindset will keep you balanced. And finally, focus on freedom, not status. The true reward of money is control over your time and choices. If your financial decisions lead you to a life where you can wake up and spend your day the way you choose, you've already won. These applications may sound simple, and that's the point. Good financial behavior isn't about complexity. It's about discipline, patience, and perspective. And the beauty is, these principles apply not just to money, but to life itself. Conclusion. As we come to the end, it's clear that The Psychology of Money isn't just a book about finance. On the surface it speaks about investing and saving, but underneath it is really a book about life. The stories and lessons show us that money is less about numbers and more about behavior. It's about how we face risk, how we define enough, how we respond to luck, and how we manage our emotions when uncertainty takes over. The big truths are simple, but they carry deep power. Each of us has a unique money story, shaped by our own experiences. Luck and risk influence us more than we like to admit, so humility and compassion matter. Wealth is not about chasing endlessly, but about knowing when you have enough. Compounding works like quiet magic, but only if you give it time. And the skills that get you rich are not the same ones that keep you rich. Boldness builds, but survival protects. Above all, the real reward of money is freedom, the ability to shape your time, your choices, and your life. In the end, money is just a tool. It reflects who we are more than what we own. It tells the story of our values, our fears, and our hopes. Real financial success doesn't belong only to the smartest or the luckiest. It belongs to those who practice patience, humility, and discipline. Wealth isn't about winning someone else's game. It's about writing your own rules for a good life and then having the freedom to live it. So the question is not, how can I get more? The real question is, what does enough look like for me? Once you know that, money stops being the goal. It becomes the tool that helps you live the life you truly want. And that brings us to you. What did you think of these lessons? Do you agree that freedom is the greatest reward of money? Let us know in the comments, and share what enough means in your life. And of course, if there's another book you'd like us to explore here on the channel, we'd love to hear your suggestions.